So the crash out that was being had by the WNBA and the WNBA Players Association heading into the All-Star game and through the All-Star game is only continuing now. They're about a week past that. The week after that All-Star game has not been pretty. As you probably remember, the All-Star game itself was pretty much trash. Caitlyn Clark wasn't in it. The play was bad. It was clowned all over the place. The WNBA players have been getting just killed online. They wore the "Pay Us What You Owe Us" shirts. They had their first, kind of big sit down with the governing body for the WNBA, going over this new CBA, what they want for salary, and all that. And apparently didn't go well at all. But the first negotiation deal should never go well when you're trying to negotiate something. Otherwise, somebody's offering way too much. So instead of just regrouping, coming up with a plan, they wore these big "Pay Us What You Owe Us" shirts. It's been clowned to death. There's been a lot of memes. Would have more memes if it wasn't for the Coldplay concert deal and the CEO. They've kind of cornered the meme market, but that's okay. But things just otherwise have not been well for the WNBA in addition to that since. First of all, we have the WNBA Players Association president, Nneka Umungole. Nneka, we'll just call her. Players for the Seattle Storm in their first game back. They were, I think they're playing Dallas. Nneka, first of all, she flops like heck trying to get a call for somebody who ran her into a screen, and of course the officials are having none of it. So as she gets back in the play and gets boxed out by the same player, she just grabs her and basically suplexes her backwards, Brock Lesnar style, and they didn't even call it. They either didn't call it or just called it a common foul. And then she stands up and just yells in this girl's face. Of course, this is a white girl. And of course, Nneka is not white. And I'm just like, okay, let's trade positions there and watch the media crash out over that one. It just shows you, and that's the president. That's the president of this WNBA Players Association doing all that. I mean, what does that tell you about their association? So I still maintain when it comes to these talks, they've already pretty much decided the NBA and the WNBA, the people who actually, run and subsidize this league, have already pretty much decided they're going to give them what they want because, it's a tax write-off for them anyways. They've tried to make it successful and it hadn't worked, so it's just a tax write-off, so they'll give them that, and they can have their yay girl power stuff and go back to being pretty much irrelevant outside of Caitlyn Clark, and that's assuming she's able to stick around or wants to stick around. She's not sounding so good these days. Her interviews, you can tell that, the pressure this is really getting to her. She just wants to go out there and be a WNBA player and have fun and represent the league well, and she's getting fought every turn, and there's been no protection of her in the media, no protection of her on the court. Looks like her own teammates are after her. Kelsey Mitchell's sister has had a lot of things to say about her, saying that Kelsey is the true driving force of that team. You guys know I love Kelsey Mitchell. I love her game, but she's been in the league for a while and produced pretty much nothing other than some nice stats, some meaningless, hollow stats without Caitlyn. Only with Caitlyn has her stats ever really meant anything. She's great, she's amazing, but to say that Caitlyn would be nothing without her is beyond laughable. So, and Kelsey's not really stepped out there to really say no, we don't need to be doing this. And I don't know if she's talked to Caitlyn off the court or not, but it just shows you overall how this league's just not ready for this type of attention. How they're just going to crash out anytime, something like this happens. Once they get the spotlight and the pressure on them, and they make these bold statements. Well, then they have to back them up. Once they make bold statements and get attention, which they've always tried to do, nobody's ever cared. But now with Caitlyn, they care. They don't know where to go. They're just really falling about. Fever had a really bad loss the first game back, which Caitlyn Clark's not in. There's no timetable for her return, by the way. They don't know, so she's apparently seeing her own doctors now. She's pretty much going away from the Indiana Fever training staff, which I can't blame her. She had the injury in the preseason. She's had 3 separate injuries since. Lower body injuries right there in the groin and quad area, so clearly somebody there doesn't know what they're doing. Again, people just not ready for the spotlight. And it just shows you just how amateur this league really is. And they can blame us all they want for not paying attention or not, putting the money in so they can have more money. You got to give us a compelling product. And a big part of that is going to be they're going to have to give us something worth watching. I know I've laid out other things, but the officiating is one thing they definitely have to get under control. What NECA did the other night, that should be a suspension. At least a 1 or 2 game suspension at the very least, probably more. I mean, you can't just body slam people like that. And in this most recent Fever game, they played the Liberty and actually played well up until the fourth quarter again, and they crashed out and lost. And Stephanie White is just looking worse and worse by the day, and she looks like she's having trouble with the pressure. She's been in the WNBA for a long time when nobody cared. Now the pressure really seems to be getting to her. And she's just not doing a good job there. The Fever did beat the Aces last night, which I was kind of surprised by, but they're not the same team without Kelsey Plum, and Kelsey Plum's not the same player without being on the Aces. Those two needed each other. Kelsey Plum only plays well when she plays the Fever. She actually puts a lot of effort and integrity into those games, whereas the rest of these games, not really. So I think them and Dallas and Chicago have the worst records in the league, if I'm not mistaken. She need, as much as I dislike both of them, her and Asia are a match made in unlikable heaven. They're two of the most unlikable people ever, and they make a very good pairing on the court. They're not the same without each other. Asia got in trouble. Or not getting in trouble, but I mean she should have gotten in trouble for basically bear hugging Aaliyah Boston and them calling it a tie up. Apparently the over the back rule doesn't apply when it comes to Asia. Like most things, she has her own special whistle. I know I come across like a hater, but I guess I am. So, she's very reliant on that whistle, and she's a very tall person and very broad shouldered, and in this league with people who nobody really has the athleticism to get around her, and the special whistle and everything. I mean, of course she's going to dominate. I mean, she's good. I mean, like I said, I'm not saying she's bad at all. She's definitely one of the best in the league, but like I said, she needs a great team around her, a great team. Like the one they had in Vegas that's gone away this year. They lost a lot of people, including Sydney Colson, her backup point guard, who went to the Fever and has done a little bit for us, I guess. But it's not the same team. I think they're below 500 or at 500. And like I said, she's just allowed to play however she wants to. And if they ever had any integrity in the officiating, which that's something that does need to get cleaned up, as I was saying about NECA. I know I made a lot of other propositions or ideas, which, I mean, like I said, people are free to disagree with. That's fine, but I think everybody can agree that if this league is anywhere, they have to clean up the officiating, they have to clean up the physicality. They cannot be allowing people to just do stuff like this, and because what's going to happen is now with all the media's eyes on it, the media, which is still very woke. One of these days, it's going to be a white girl that does it to somebody like NECA or Asia, and people are going to flip out, and they're going to have horrible press, and then they're going to have no choice but to start doing things. Otherwise, the media's going to go after them. Imagine if Caitlyn Clark would have been the one to, hip check Kennedy Carter or clothesline Angel Reese over the head. I mean, she reached for the ball to try to prevent a layup after she shoved Natasha Howard out of the way, and of course, Angel crashed out, and she had a 9-turnover game the other day, but, she crashed out, and then, of course, it was a lot of, racial talk amongst the mainstream media, which is nothing new. That's pretty much all the mainstream sports media has to talk about is race. It's carried them for so long, and now they don't know what else to do. They're just not talented enough to, analyze the league without talking about race. But like I said, with national sanity restored now, it's a lot different. So, it's not going to get them as far, and people just roll their eyes now. So, just, I don't know. It's a mess. Like I said, what they've done to Caitlyn and their one golden goose, and, seeing that these are the people like Asia and NECA are some of the important, supposedly, behind the scenes movers and on the scene movers, and, just watching how they actually play and how they actually conduct themselves. It's just such a bad look for the WNBA, and I don't see how they can recover from this, honestly, because they just absolutely have to make sweeping changes Maybe you don't have to make all the changes I recommended, but sweeping changes have to be made because the league as it is now is never going to be taken seriously, like a professional league should. And even if they get the money, it's just going to be looked at as charity money. Like I said, it's a tax write-off pretty much. And I hear people saying, the owners are intentionally tanking the value of their franchises so they can get a bigger tax write-off because they'll make more money. The more money the team makes, the less money they'll make. Well, you know how the owners can make a lot more money? Have a profitable team that turns a profit. Then they can start making a lot of money because there's still tax write-offs even if your team does turn a profit too, which I know it's kind of been gone after, but we'll see where that goes. So that's just one of the dumbest arguments there is. The arguments them saying they need more money or deserve more money. That entitlement is just, that's what's turned a lot of people off from ever turning in to start with. And only Caitlyn Clark and her once in a generation talent and magnetism has brought people in. We need more people like her and less people like Asia and Nneka. You can't have that. It's crazy. And of course, the Angel Reese situation. She's played some of the best ball of her life, which still, isn't as good as people are saying it is. And now she was hurt the game before the All-Star game, played the All-Star game, played the game afterwards, and turned the ball over 9 times, which made for a very hilarious stat stuffer video. And she sat out the other last night, I think it was, and they lost by 40. They built the team around her, and you cannot build a team around her running the offense. I mean, she's somebody that can be a contributor. She showed at LSU as a role player, and she was the 5th leading scorer in that famous national title game on her own team. And none of them scored as much as Caitlyn did, but Caitlyn didn't have the team, and LSU won, and Angel taunted her, and has been paying the price for that ever since because she can't back it up. She had superior teammates carrying her to a victory over Caitlyn Clark and a pretty underwhelming supporting cast. So I don't know. WNBA is not doing as it's been a rough week going back to the All-Star game, and not looking that good. Like I said, we don't know what the future for Caitlyn Clark shows or is going to be, and the longer she's out and the more the WNBA players are under the microscope and she's not taking a lot of that shine from them and they're actually getting looked at, the more people are realizing, why are we watching this league? So I'm still holding out hope that Caitlyn's going to come back and be 100% healthy and give us amazing performances like she did in the second half last year. But at this point, I'm not holding my breath. If I was her, I almost feel like I would not come back until I was sure that I was 100% healthy and, not any more likely to get injured than I would be if I was perfectly healthy. So, I don't know. Pretty ugly, but we'll see. So, y'all take care, and I'll talk to you later.